In this video, we're going to talk about a relatively simplistic way to categorize individuals based on their ultimately weight to height ratio. And that's called body mass index. And oftentimes people will abbreviate body mass index and refer to it as BMI. Anytime someone talks about BMI, they're talking about body mass index. Now, body mass index, the way it's defined, is you take the mass of the person, not the weight, the mass of the person, and divide it by the square of their height. And for this to work out, to give you the correct units, the person's mass has to be in units of kilograms, and the person's height has to be in units of meters, and then you square that. Okay? So if you take the mass in kilograms divided by the square of the height in meters, that gives you the body mass index. Now, there are several things that this does not take into account that make BMI, in some cases, very misleading and inaccurate. Okay? For example, you could have two people with a body mass index of 30. Let me explain what that means. So 30 as a body mass index is classified as clinical class 1 obesity. Okay? But you can have people who have BMIs of 30 who are obese, and you can have other people who have a BMI of 30 who are exceptionally fit. But how can that be? Well, if we look at this formula, okay, notice this is just mass. In other words, mass of what? Does it take into account mass of bones, mass of fat, mass of muscle, mass of any lean tissue? And the answer is it takes into account all of it. So if you're somebody who's, say, 5'10", and you have a decent amount of body fat, you can have the exact same BMI as somebody who's also 5'10", but has a significant amount of muscle. And so as a result of that, BMI gives you a very rough estimate of a person, but it does not tell you the whole story because it takes into account all tissues. Okay? So here's the question. In BMI, is body fat percentage taken into account? Okay? The answer is no. BMI tells you nothing about body fat percentage, okay? Because in this formula, it takes into account the mass of everything. It does not tell you the percentage. Is the person 20% body fat or 5%? Okay, it doesn't take that into account. Is lean tissue percentage taken into account? Well, there the answer is also no, okay? Lean tissue is not taken into account because it takes into account all mass, and they're not weighted unequally. Everything's basically the same. Okay? Can a physically healthy person and a physically unhealthy person have exactly the same BMI? And the answer is yes, they can. So like I was saying, if you have two people, say, who are 5'10", as long as they weigh exactly the same, their BMI will be the same. But what does that weight come from? Is it a lot of fat or is it a lot of muscle? So one of the things that's important to be able to do is to be able to calculate somebody's BMI. Okay? Now, the weight of a person, it could be 252 pounds, but we're interested in the mass only. So how do I do this? Well, I'm going to take 252 pounds, and I'm going to convert this into kilograms. So we have to remember that there are 2.2 pounds in 1 kilogram. So what is the mass of this individual? Let me calculate this. So 252 pounds divided by 2.2. I'm getting that the mass of this person is approximately 114.5. I'm going to round this to 5. And that's in units of kilograms. Okay, that's the mass of this person. Okay, then I'm going to take into account the height. Okay, this is the 6 is the feet, the 2 is the inches. Okay, this is 6'2". So what I want to do is I want to say how many inches is 6'2". Well, remember that 6 feet. Okay, 6 feet. In 1 foot, there are 12 inches, right? So overall, 6 feet is going to be, what is that? 72 inches. But then I'm going to have to add on 2 inches because it's 6'2", so that's 74 inches. Okay? So 74 inches is how many meters? Because remember, for body mass index, I need the height in meters. Okay? 74 inches, okay? I could, if I knew the conversion factor between inches and meters, I could use that. I don't have that memorized, so I'm going to show you another way to do it. Remember that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. This is a conversion factor that you should memorize. It's also useful in other areas like physics if you have to do something like that, or chemistry. And then you're going to say there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So I want to figure out what the height in meters is. So 74 times 2.54, and then divided by 100. And so I'm getting that this is going to be, the height is going to be 1.8. I'm going to round this to 1.88 meters. Okay, 1.88 meters. So now what I want to do is, now that I have the mass in kilograms and the height in meters, I want to apply this body mass index formula, okay, because now I have the appropriate units. So let me calculate the BMI. This individual's BMI, okay, you're going to take the mass on top in the numerator, 114.55 kilograms, and then you're going to take the square of the height, 1.88 meters, squared in the denominator. Didn't need that long of a line there. So I'm going to go ahead and calculate this. So it's going to be 114.55 kilograms. Okay, let's see, 114.55 kilograms divided by, let's see, 1.88 squared. Okay, and so I've calculated that the BMI of this individual is approximately 32.4. And this actually does have units that you're going to need. Notice the units are going to be kilogram per meter squared. And that's going to be the person's BMI. Now, when you do this for a client, if you're a personal trainer, you can calculate the person's BMI. And what you can then do is look at this table of ranges to determine what this person is classified as. Okay, so let's look at this. Normal weight for most people, the BMI is going to be between 18.5 and 24.9. Okay, someone is classified as overweight when their BMI is 25 to 29.9. Class 1 obesity is going to be 30 to 34.9, and Class 2 obesity is going to be 35 to 39.9. Okay, I didn't include this, but if somebody's BMI is under 18.5, that's what we classify as underweight. And things that can produce underweight individuals could be things like anorexia, that's very common, or in some cases the person is taking some kind of medication that can drastically reduce their weight. If somebody has some kind of cancer and they're receiving chemotherapy and cancer drugs, that can reduce their weight to the underweight category, but in that case, individuals may not be working out, okay, at a gym. All right, so these are the normal ranges. Now, based on this BMI calculation, 32.4 actually is going to fall in the Class 1 obesity range, okay? Now, you're the one who is actually in charge of your client, okay? So you take a look at your client, and you have to make a judgment call, okay, in some cases, okay? Because Class 1 obesity, okay, obesity, that's not a good thing. Is this person you're dealing with actually obese? Or is this person just really fit and they have a lot of muscle? Well, it could be any of those two things. Some people could have a BMI of about 32 and they're exceptionally fit. They just have a lot of muscle. And some people have that. Some people are they just have a lot of excess body fat. And if you wanted to be sure about this, then what you could ultimately do is you could measure body fat percentage. Okay, remember, body fat percentage is not taken into account by BMI. So you can do this quick BMI calculation, but if you really wanted to get a more accurate representation of if the person is fit or not, you can always run a body fat percentage testing using something simple like bioelectric impedance. That's that thing that you hold with your two hands and it spits out your body fat percentage. Okay, so note that BMI does not tell you the whole story. Okay, in some cases, it may be very misleading. Okay, for example, one individual who probably is going to be classified as Class 1 obese would be some of these athletes that have abused steroids. I'm not trying to poke fun of anyone or point fingers or anything, but if you look at the older pictures of Jose Canseco, a baseball player when he was in his prime and taking steroids, he had a very, very low body fat percentage. I want to say that his body fat percentage was about 4 or 5%, very low, but he weighed approximately, don't quote me on this, but it was around 240 pounds or something like that. So he would have been probably class 1 obesity, or maybe in the overweight category, but in terms of muscle mass, he would have been classified as very fit. Okay, I'm sure there are other better examples than that. Hopefully this makes sense, and in the next video, we're actually going to calculate required energy expenditures or excesses to lose or gain body fat. See you in the next video.